Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are all enjoying your wonderful day, and this is going to be a very exciting video as the main snowstorm has passed yesterday. And it's going to continue today. I decided to talk about a more significant event, possibly. We've been seeing a lot of consistency between the GFS, and now the European is starting to agree on it as well. The Canadians still a little holding back, but we're going to be watching out for a very likely chance for a monster snowstorm for early early next week here in the very late of this week for the upper North Plains and as well the Great Lakes. We're possibly as well watching out for finally our first name storm of the season, which is going to be Atticus. It's very rare to not have a letter A at this time of the year, and we're almost in December. We have not had a name storm, so this could very well be our first name storm, and it's going to come in fashion as we're going to be watching out for a monster setup. But without further ado, let's get in the forecast. So the first thing I want to look at is the 500 millibar height, because I know we're going to be transitioning in the next few days for much of the beginning of December. For the first week of December, we're going to be seeing a pretty strong grading pattern across the United States. As you look at December 4th and look at December 3rd and even the 2nd, we're going to be seeing extreme raging across the United States. We're going to be seeing kind of more of a strong polar vortex, so a lot of that cold is going to stay along the higher Arctic and as well in the stratosphere, that general vicinity. But as we transition towards the very late part of this week, that's all going to change for a portion of the United States as we go to the fourth, which is going to be the last day of the week. This week, we're going to be seeing now this polar vortex is going to start weakening, and we're going to start seeing a lot of this polar vortex start to lob. So we're going to start seeing some really cold air starting to dip into portions of the far northern United States today, and that is going to allow for now some snow to be visible once again, because for this at least first 4 days of December, it is going to be extremely, and I mean extremely warm. And as we get closer to this event, I'm going to show you guys the overall temperatures for the 3 days before, but it's going to get way above average. And as we now go to the very early part of next week, by the 5th, it kind of lobs back into the as this kind of smaller Rossby wave starts to dip back to the Arctic. We're gonna have a second kind of dip in a dip into the United States here, as this whole thing's gonna be wobbling around. It's gonna be a very weak polar vortex. So this is going to allow now for that second dip to go a lot further into the United States, and it's kind of go straight into the central United States, and it's gonna kind of come in by basically portion of the 5th and then mainly into the 6th. And it's going to be a really strong polar vortex. It's going to be a really strong Arctic blast. We're going to be seeing well below average temperatures. We're looking at anywhere from 30 to 35 to even 40 degrees below average. This is actually going to kind of weaken this ridging pattern across the eastern United States and as well the western United States in general. So it's going to kind of push that ridge south, or sorry, push that ridge to the east, and then it's going to allow for some slight ridging across the southwest. But other than that, it's going to really cool off the United States a lot, and this is going to definitely be the huge open window for Atticus to develop. And look at by the Monday the 6th, by later in the 6th, we're still going to be seeing some really extreme Arctic invasion across much of the central and as well the Great Lakes and Midwest overall. But the coldest air is going to kind of stay around the upper Great Lakes and North Plains, and that is going to be the main air to watch out for. Um, but again, this Arctic blast is going to kind of really briefly stay across the Great Lakes, and after that's going to push along Ontario and push into Quebec. We're not going to be seeing anything too interesting necessarily for the Northeast with this main system, as we're still going to be seeing a blocking ridge off Nova Scotia, which is going to kind of prevent any of this main cold air to actually enter the Northeast. So this snowstorm, as of now, will most likely just stay across the Great Lakes and then move to Quebec and move into Ontario. But that's what we have so far. Let's now go ahead and get a look at the actual temperature anomaly. So I kind of spoiled it a little bit, but let's not go towards really December 3rd. Look at December 3rd. I mean, we're going to be seeing around 30 degrees above average all across the north central United States and the plain. It's going to be absolutely miserable. It's definitely not going to feel like December, and it's going to get even hotter across Iowa, Oklahoma. We're going to be seeing some spring temperatures. But as we go towards the 4th, there you see that very small Arctic blast moving in now to the northeast and portion of the Great Lakes, moving in, of course, by Saturday. And by later Sunday morning, we're going to be seeing some pretty cold there just to the north of the United States across portions of Ontario. And then we're going to be seeing overall our first slightly below average temperatures for this portion of the United States for a while here. Going to be seeing around anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees below average, which is definitely going to be well needed across that area. And we could very well see with this very cold air and some precipitation, because we're going to be seeing some frequent low pressure moving along with this polar vortex. We could very well see some slight small storms, maybe some smaller clippers, maybe some lake effect snow or mountain snow. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on really for the very end of the week for the Northeast. But as we go towards Monday, here comes that main Arctic blast here. There it is. You can overall see it. So look at the difference between the 4th and the 6th. We're now seeing the warmest air is going to kind of be obviously to the west and east of this overall dip in the jet stream. And here's the overall dip in the jet stream. So there you see the main polar vortex moving into the starting to get to the United States, and there you see that kind of dip in the jet stream, and it's going to allow for strong region across the east and strong region across the west. And it's going to be the main area to watch out for that very, very cold air. So to continue to move in, you see that really cold air moves in. And now by basically Mondays, where we're going to start to watch out for that snowstorm to develop. So here's Monday, going to be seeing some really cold air across overall the north central United States, around anywhere from 11 to 25 degrees below average. And as we continue on early Tuesday morning, I'm going to be seeing up to now 30 to 35 degrees below average, to possibly getting close to 37 degrees below average. And as we move in now by later Tuesday, this cold is going to be all across the United States. So definitely a well-needed Arctic blast ahead for early next week. You're going to be seeing some really cold air specifically across the Great Lakes and as well Ontario. Quebec. A lot of the snow is going to really stay across this area because of how minimal this cold front is going to be across the Northeast. I mean, if we look towards really the main day, which is going to be Monday and Tuesday, we're still going to be seeing some warm air across the Northeast, and it's just not going to be really a good environment for the Northeast. The Northeast, as of now, may miss out, but obviously there could be trends where this polar vortex dips further southward. Who knows? But the main event is going to stay across the Great Lakes, and then obviously later on, the Northeast will start to get involved in that cold air. But it's going to be a really, really cold upcoming beginning of next week. It's going to just be completely different towards the beginning of this week. Going to be seeing really, really warm air. Possibly I may hit the 70s in December, which is almost unheard of. And then much of the United States in general, specifically the Great Lakes, is going to be seeing a massive cool down. Let's now go ahead and get a look here what the GFS is showing. So the GFS has definitely been the most consistent model with this snowstorm. Even the overall timing and even the overall regions have really been extremely consistent, which is why I find it very interesting. And now that the Europeans in range, the Europeans also showing a very similar setup, while the Canadian model is lacking, but it does have a low pressure and it does have the polar vortex there. So overall, almost all three main global models are starting to show this. But the GFS has probably been showing this since, who knows, maybe since probably Thanksgiving or even maybe the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So it's been very consistent. So here's the overall setup there for the 5th. So just keep in mind that Saturday we're going to be seeing that first polar vortex, that first tip of the polar vortex entering the Northeast. Like I said, we could see some small clippers. We could be seeing some small snowstorm events for the Northeast, very minor events like we saw yesterday, for example. At the end of this week here across the Northeast. It's going to mainly stay, of course, towards Ontario and Quebec, where that main cold front is going to be, but could still see some good amounts of snow, lake effect snow, like I did mention earlier on. But here comes the main event here. So as early as basically the Sunday, here comes that low pressure, because obviously that cold is going to be really, really centered across southern Canada. But as we go a little bit towards really Sunday night into Monday morning, this cold is going to really start to invade portions of the northern United States. But here's the overall look by Sunday morning. There's the area of low pressure. A lot of the snow is going to be staying basically to the north of that, or almost all the precipitation is going to be staying basically north of this area of low pressure. So it's going to be pretty front-sided, but very heavy snow on Sunday morning all across the north central United States. Going to be seeing some really heavy snow across North Dakota, some heavy snow there for Minnesota. And as we head into now basically to the 6th, this snow is going to really rapidly make its way towards the Midwest and Great Lakes. So this is going to be by Sunday afternoon to Sunday evening. Very, very heavy snow across the Great Lakes. Going to be seeing some really heavy snow across Wisconsin. Extremely heavy snow. Again, mainly the main snow we're going to have to watch out for. It's going to be northeast of the area of low pressure, because that's where that actual cold front's going to be. Again, the overall polar vortex is kind of right like this, and the low pressure is going to be on the very, very, very tip of that polar vortex. So anything really northeast of that polar vortex, or northeast of that low pressure, not only will we see the heaviest precipitation there, but that's where the coldest air is going to be. So that means heavy snow. While to the east, along that cold front, to the east of the cold front, going to be seeing a lot of rain and then possibly some slight severe weather going on. But like I said, really heavy snow across portions of the eastern or the central Great Lakes and portions of the Midwest. As we now go towards now early morning on Monday, this snow is going to start to transition a lot more now, getting closer to now the southeastern side of the low pressure. As we go to the overnight hours, we're going to be seeing now these temperatures becoming a lot more widespread, below freezing for a little more large radius. So we're going to start getting some snow now for Chicago, now for the lower Great Lakes, but still seeing that really heavy snow across Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and now getting that snow across portions of far northern Ohio, far northern Indiana, and far northern Illinois. As we now transition towards now mid-morning for Monday, this snow is going to continue to stay basically front-sided, but a lot of the snow is starting to transition south of that low pressure, because eventually, at that point now, that cold front has finally caught up. So keep in mind, this low pressure is going to be really ahead of the main polar vortex. So that's why a lot of this is going to be rain. And I mean a lot. So we're not going to be seeing too much involved for the northeast. Maybe a few mountain snow showers with freezing rain in the higher elevations. But other than that, the main snow is going to be staying north or outside the northeast in general, and it's going to barely even go into the Ohio Valley. It's going to really stay isolated into the far northern Great Lakes and northern plains, because that's where we're going to be seeing that really cold air. But eventually, as we go towards Monday, this snow will start to become a lot more widespread around this low pressure and a lot more large, wide radius. So as we go towards now Monday afternoon, we're going to be seeing some mountain snow and some scattered snow showers across New England, as this colder will eventually have caught up by then. And we'll be seeing just overall the snowstorm is not going to be really front side anymore. And as this low pressure actually strengthens to now the triple digits, we're going to be seeing some really heavy snow and probably whiteout conditions across Ontario, across as well Quebec. And it's going to kind of move out completely by Tuesday early morning. But like I said, this is how I say it's going to really progress. It's going to be very, very front-sided. All this precipitation staying north of that low pressure, because everything north of that low pressure is going to be involved in that polar vortex. And then eventually it's going to mature a lot more. And now that sends all over that low pressure, because eventually that cold front, and obviously it's going to be the overnight hours by 10 o'clock on Monday, we're going to be seeing a lot more snow, a lot more widespread. So it's going to definitely become a monster snowstorm. That's going to look at the overall European model. The European model, though, is having a lot more snow in this general area before this main snowstorm. I'm about to show you guys what I mean. So obviously, going to be seeing that very cold front, that very cold air moving into the Great Lakes and northeast by the 4th. Going to be seeing some scattered snow showers and lick effect snow. But the European is having a very smaller but fast-moving system developing across this area. So they kind of have it developing basically the same be the 4th, but the Europeans' timing is very, very off on this. They kind of just have some smaller snow kind of developing across, really, the smaller snow really just staying isolated across the upper Great Lakes, like again, like the GFS, and then having that really, really heavy snow on, this is going to be Monday afternoon. Going to be seeing some really heavy snow across the upper Great Lakes. But the European is taking this a lot quicker than the GFS. And if I am to, at least I think so. The Europeans definitely not as intense on this. But then they have another really large system coming in now for the Great Lakes. Now this is going to be a really significant system. This is kind of going to be something that we're going to see if the GFS is going to pick up on. But overall, the European is definitely still. It's definitely still not intense as a GFS, but they are picking up on it. They are picking up on that really heavy snow across the northern plains and across the upper northern Great Lakes. So it's definitely going to be something to keep a very, very close eye on. Again, they also have it kind of going from front-sided to then having that snow all across. But the reason why the European has it really not becoming as widespread as the GFS, not including Chicago, not even including portion of Detroit or even central Michigan, is because they have it moving so fast. I mean, they have it done by Monday morning, while on the GFS it's by Monday morning, it's still over here, And then Monday morning, the European has it. The European just has it going way, way too fast, and that's probably why they had this big storm developing. Because that cold is obviously going to be all across this area. I mean, there's the high pressure right here. Here's going to be the polar vortex. So all that cold is going to be already in this general area. And since the European hasn't moving so quickly, we're going to be having another chance for an upcoming low pressure. And that's why kind of the GFS doesn't have anything too crazy across this area in the 80s. They actually have a high pressure, so it's going to be very complete opposite. But here's the GFS. So keep in consideration that before this storm, we are going to be seeing some snow before this snowstorm across this area. So keep in mind, some of these totals are going to be a little bit different for this main snowstorm in general. So all these totals are going to be seeing like maybe 30 inches isn't going to be completely from the system, because we are going to be seeing on the 4th some slight snow showers, of course, from that first dip in the polar vortex. So a lot of the snow is going to kind of be involved in that. So for example, we're going to be seeing half a foot across portions of the Great Lakes in some areas. So just keep that in mind. But let's not go to the main system. We could obviously a lot of these raw numbers are definitely going to be visible across this area. That's where it's kind of, we're not going to be seeing too much snow or any snow in the next few days before it. So this is all going to be raw, but this is not going to be raw. This is obviously going to be a little bit more than it's going to be with the whole storm in general. But let's not just go ahead and look at it. So like I said, a lot of the snow is going to stay basically across this general line. It's going to kind of come in from Canada and then just track this way. And like I said, it's going to do that it's going to do that in general because that's a general clipper pattern. But the reason why we're not going to be seeing too much snow additionally for the Northeast is because, like I said, it's going to be there's going to be a blocking there. So if we actually look, if we look now on Monday, the day before the snow moves in the Northeast, this is obviously all from Saturday. These totals are all from Saturday. If we just see any additional totals, we're going to barely see any additional totals. The only good totals we're going to be seeing additionally, it's going to be for far, far western Maine and portions of the Vermont and New Hampshire area. But that's going to be only a few more inches. While look at the intense amount of snowfall going on across Michigan. Although we do already have around 9 inches there, we're going to be seeing probably an additional 10 inches. So this is still going to be a very, very significant snowstorm. So let's go ahead and look at the overall totals. So definitely going to be seeing some really less intense snow across the very beginning, and start from really snow all the way from Montana up towards Quebec and Ontario and like all that good stuff. But we're going to be seeing in more isolated areas across North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. We're going to be seeing around 4 to 6 inches across that general area. But as this low pressure starts to become less front-sided and more overall just big blob areas of snow, as this cold front will finally catch up, it's going to become a lot more widespread, and we're going to be seeing a lot more snow droppings. We're going to be seeing in the highest Midwest, like north central Michigan, north central Wisconsin, and north central Minnesota. We're going to be seeing a chance of over 1 to possibly getting as high as 2 feet of snowfall. And that's definitely a very high possibility, even just for the one storm in general. Although, like I said, it has up to really 26 inches because of the previous snowstorm. There is still a good chance we can get 1 to 2 feet alone with the snowstorm because how intense it looks to be. So, going to be seeing some really heavy snow across portions of Traverse City, Marquette, Green Bay, Eau Claire, Duluth, Minnesota. We're going to be seeing some really heavy snow across the area, and the lower Lake Michigan area in the lower Great Lakes could very well get some decent snow. But again, it all depends on how that low pressure is positioned, as well how far the polar vortex dips in. But could see maybe a few inches for Detroit, a few inches for Madison, a few inches there for Chicago. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna stay very, very isolated. The main area to watch is gonna be generally the upper Great Lakes, and of course, eventually getting into Ontario and Quebec. And look how much the Northeast is going to be missing out on. Look at how much snow is going to drop. So let's go ahead and see. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of snow already. But just look at like the lower. I mean, just look at this area. Just look at this area, how much snow just drops in this just 1 day time period. Look at that. Absolutely crazy. You're going to be seeing in some areas an additional 2 feet of snow. So definitely missing out a lot on the Northeast because of this warm front. But definitely a really strong major upcoming snowstorm. And this is now the overall, this is going to be look at the European model. So from the 5th, here's what they have. They have a lot more snow practically across the north central, including North Dakota, Minnesota, getting as high as maybe 8 to 9 inches, but still having those really high totals across the upper Great Lakes. But nothing too much going on for the Northeast. and then they have a really strong storm, second storm coming in. But I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later.